Hi, I'm Milla, and welcome to another Milla's Gaming video. As a younger gamer, there are so many classic Japanese role-playing games I have yet to play. This is because many older titles are not available on modern platforms, are quite hard to get hold of, and are also comparatively obscure. But also, I've overlooked many different developers and publishers over the years, as there is just too much stuff to play and not enough time. However, I hope to play through as many classic titles as possible, and here are 10 of them. Number 1. Baton Kaitos, Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean, released for the GameCube and soon to be remastered in HD for the Nintendo Switch. Alright, let's start with this overlooked Nintendo GameCube RPG that, as already mentioned, is getting a remaster alongside its prequel, Baton Kaitos Origins, this month. Baton Kaitos was developed by Monolith Soft way back in 2003, which is a developer I've become a huge fan of thanks to the Xenoblade series. This RPG is set in magical sky islands with mysterious Magnus cards that humanity uses to store the essence of objects or powers for future use. You play as a guardian spirit who follows protagonist Callas as he goes out to avenge the death of his brother and grandfather. Himself and the traveller Zelha accidentally release the first of the End Magnus, which sets them up for an epic journey, including a confrontation with the Alphard Empire. It has a really compelling story and setting, and I'm interested in seeing how it all comes together with the card-based gameplay. Additionally, with the upcoming HD remaster version, which is what I'm going to pick up and play through, not only does it look better, but also features some added quality of life improvements like auto battle and the ability to skip cutscenes, which will greatly help these games be more playable for me. And I cannot wait to check this game out at last, and hopefully Origins in the future too. Number 2. Skies of Arcadia, released for the Dreamcast and then re-released for the GameCube. Another RPG set above the clouds is this cult classic from Sega. You play as Weiss and Aika, a duo of sky pilots who travel across the world to find the moon crystals before the Valued Empire get to them, and hence put the entire world at risk. This is a very traditional turn-based RPG with a vast world map, very much akin to classic Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, and it's beloved by those who've played it. Nowadays though, it is very expensive, especially on the Nintendo GameCube, which is a game I actually have in my collection, by the way. Now Skies of Arcadia is a game I have actually played the opening hours of a while back. The issue though is the lack of quality of life features that make it difficult for me to stay engaged. This is not the game's fault, as these features were common at the time of it to be extremely slow with no auto skip or fast forward, but I believe this game would greatly benefit from a remaster with said quality of life features to make it a bit more playable, as well as fix the issues with the music that was present in the GameCube port. I hope Sega can one day make it happen. Number 3. Sakura Wars. Released for the Sega Saturn and then later ported to Windows, Dreamcast and PSP, but also remade for the PS2. Another classic Sega title is one of the earliest visual novel SRPG hybrids to ever exist, Sakura Wars, which was co-developed with Red Company, now Red Entertainment. This game also kickstarted one of Sega's most beloved series and multimedia franchises, although sadly we didn't really get to see it much outside of Japan. Although interestingly, this game got officially localized in Russian for some reason. Okay? Anyway, Sakura Wars tells the story of Ichiro Ogami, who takes command of the Imperial Combat Review Flower Division in 1920s Tokyo. Himself, Sakura, Shunguji, and the other members of the Combat Review are theatre performers in one half of their life, but protect Tokyo from evil in the other. Given this is a visual novel and strategy RPG hybrid, this title plays a lot closer to So Long My Love on the PS2/Wii, unlike the PS4 reboot. And I absolutely love the former title as well as similar titles like the Uta Romano series. I also like playing historically significant games, and Sakura Wars is very much one of them. This title does not have an official release outside of Japan. Fun fact though, a localization of the PSP bundle pack with its sequel was attempted back in 2009, however this was blocked by Sony for unknown reasons. A fan translation does exist and is fully completed, and there's also a fan translation for Sakura Wars 2 on its way. I don't know when I get round to playing this, but I really want to play it sometime soon. Number 4. Shin Megami Tensei 3, released for the PlayStation 2 and then remastered for the PS4, Switch and PC. Moving from one historically significant game to another, back in 2005, the mainline SMT series was localized in the West for the first time with this game. You play as the Demi-Fiend, a silent protagonist who explores the Vortex world, aka post-apocalyptic Tokyo, following the Conception, a post-apocalyptic event. The gameplay of course consists of exploiting weaknesses in turn-based combat with fictional demons, which at the time was brand new. If it wasn't for Atlus taking a chance on localising this game, as well as convincing Capcom to let them use Dante from the Devil May Cry series, it's likely it would have taken far longer for SMT to become a thing in the West. I did play the opening hours of the PS2 version many years ago, but much like Skies of Arcadia, it was really tiring for me, and I know I would struggle if I tried to play through it, so I waited and hoped for a remaster, which of course did happen. I will get round to this game one of these days, especially now this remaster exists. As a massive fan of Atlus, I owe it to myself to play this iconic game from their back catalogue. Number 5. Persona 3, originally released for the PlayStation 2 and then remade for the PlayStation 2, PSP, and as of next year every modern platform except for Nintendo Switch. Another iconic game from Atlus's library I need to play is Persona 3, and if you're a fan of RPGs, you probably already know what this game is. It revolutionised the Persona series as well as Japanese RPGs, with its use of social links, social sim elements, a then quite unique and fresh high school setting, as well as its unique memorable characters. And of course, becoming part of all that Persona milking once Persona 4 Golden took the series spotlight. In Persona 3, you play as a high school student who joins the Specialised Extracurricular Execution Squad, or SEES, who explore a mysterious entity known as the Dark Hour, while also juggling life as a high school student. It's quite a dark game, like it involves you shooting yourself in the head to summon your personas, among other things. But it was absolutely iconic for its time, and was one of the first stepping stones for Atlus to become more popular overseas. So why haven't I played it yet? The problem is the lack of a definitive version, which has been discoursed to death in the Atlus community, so I'll keep it brief here. Persona 3 FES and P3P both have exclusive content, and the upcoming remake, which I was waiting on, seems to be more of a reimagining rather than a true definitive edition that combines the content from these previous versions, such as FMC. Additionally, mods exist for both FES and Portable to fix the flaws of both titles as much as possible. It's a lot to be honest, and I'm not really sure what's right for me, and while I prefer to experience the game as FMC, potentially turning Persona 3 into an Otome game, I'll probably end up playing FES with mods or the upcoming Reload remake when it's cheap. What would you recommend I do here? Let me know in the comments below. Number 6, Grandia 2, released for the Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, and then remastered for the Nintendo Switch and PC. GameArt is a developer that if you've played Japanese RPGs for a long time, you'll probably have come across at some point. They're quite well known among older gamers, although sadly they don't really get up to much nowadays. Back in their heyday though, and even now, Grandia 2 was considered one of the best games they've ever made, as well as the best title in the Grandia series. In Grandia 2, you play as Ryudo, a mercenary who is tasked with escorting a songstress, Eleanor. Eleanor needs to be cleansed after a ceremony goes wrong, and she has the Wings of Valamar, essentially being possessed by a foreign being. This is quite a traditional turn-based RPG set in a fully 3D environment. Now, I do like checking out games and franchises from as many developers as possible in genres I'm a fan of, and GameArt is no exception. Given this game has been remastered on the Nintendo Switch, there are some quality of life updates. This is a version I'll be playing when the time comes. As mentioned before, a lot of older gamers hold a lot of nostalgia for this game, and I really hope I like it as much as they do. Number 7, Chrono Cross, released for the PlayStation 1 and then remastered for modern platforms. Another title equally held in high regard is Chrono Trigger, which I finally got around to playing after having the Nintendo DS version on my shelf sealed for several years. Without going into detail here, as I've already done it elsewhere, I love the game. It's a classic from the 1990s golden era for JRPGs, and for good reason. So naturally, Squaresoft decided to make a sequel, which, like Chrono Trigger, is also turn-based. You play as Serge, a man who slips into an alternate dimension where he drowned on the beach in his island home 10 years prior. Your adventure then starts from this alternate dimension. There are also callbacks to Chrono Trigger throughout this game as well. Opinions on this game are somewhat mixed as to whether Chrono Cross is better than Chrono Trigger. The majority believe Trigger is better, although some people also believe Cross is better. I'll be playing the remastered version, as despite its flaws, does feature quality of life improvements, as well as the first official localization of the Radical Dreamers visual novel companion title. I definitely plan to play this game soon, and I can't wait to see what I think about it. Number 8, Kingdom Hearts 3, released for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC, and also Switch if you like cloud shit. Alright, this is a title that many do not consider to be a classic, however I want to have at least one modern title on this list. Plus, I was a huge fan of the Kingdom Hearts series for quite some time when I was younger. I'm not so much one now, largely because I haven't checked out any game in the series for years now. This is the final game in the Dark Seeker saga, which is basically the whole series up to this point, concluding the story. It adds various features like attraction flow, mini-games inspired by Mickey Mouse LCD titles from the 1980s, and even more dynamic boss battles compared to previous games. I absolutely love what I saw in the promotional material at the time. So why haven't I played it sooner? A few reasons. Firstly, Kingdom Hearts 3 ironically took way too long to release in this initial announcement, which did affect its reception, that's why a lot of fans don't actually like it so much. Additionally, Square Enix chose to release Remind via a patch after release when it first came out. It was done to prevent spoilers, but did little to reduce spoilers in reality, and also damaged game preservation. So I waited for a Switch port, which then, well, that was a Bernie skip. Fuck cloud games. I do still want to play it though, in part because two of my favourite animated films, Toy Story and Monsters Inc, were adapted into the game, and I do want to see how Square Enix handled this. Plus, if Kingdom Hearts 4 now a thing, I hope this new Lost Master saga is nowhere near as convoluted as the Dark Seeker one. Number 9. Trails in the Sky Second Chapter, released for the PSP and PC and available via a fan translation for the PS Vita too. I haven't talked about Falcon on this list yet, so allow me to do so now. Many years ago, I played through the first 2 games in the Cold Steel arc and became a fan of the Trails series as well as Falcon as a whole. Unfortunately, due to the reality of business back then, both the Sky games and Crossbow arcs were not officially available in English and on modern platforms, and Sky nowadays still isn't, hence going back through the older games is quite difficult for me to do. That said, thanks to fan translators, they patched the Japan-only PS Vita versions of the Sky games which were developed by Shara Arni. I was able to finally play through the first chapter of the Trails in the Sky arc as a result last year. This arc follows the adventures of Estelle and Joshua Bright, who are training to become senior bracers at the Bracers Guild, but of course, various things happen that put their skills to the test, especially in second chapter. The Trails series is known for world building so deep no other JRPG series comes close, alongside its engaging turn-based combat and of course, amazing music. I have not got around to second chapter yet. It is twice as long as Trails in the Sky and requires a heavy time commitment. The lack of an official release on modern platforms means I'll have to play the Vita Evolution fan patch. Yep, second chapter got patched as well. Considering how many other Trails games there are now available in English, I really need to catch up on this series and I hope I can do so soon. Number 10. The Final Fantasy series, released for almost everything. Yep, I'm saving the most surprising one for last, and this is probably going to upset a lot of people, but aside from the opening hours of Final Fantasy X, I've not played a Final Fantasy game at all. The main reason why comes down to, and this is going to sound extremely pathetic, childhood bitterness towards Square for refusing to localise Dragon Quest games for the Nintendo 3DS. Something I made a 1-hour video on, by the way. It led to me losing interest in most of Square Enix's games at the time, and part of these decisions were a result of Square Enix's corporate bias against turn-based games in the 2010s that have been widely publicised at this point. Nowadays though, I have no excuse. I need to play some of these games. When I did try FFX on the PlayStation Vita, it did put me to sleep because I couldn't skip the goddamn cutscenes, and I put it down eventually. As for the rest, I'm not sure where to start, but I'm thinking either 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. Again, if you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments below. And no, I don't want to play 7 Remake until after I've played the original, especially as the remake version is essentially not complete at the moment and is also more of a reimagining, kind of like Persona 3 Reload. It's essentially its own thing. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's video. I could easily make a part 2 as there are many more classic RPGs I have not played, and that's before all the niche and obscure stuff I will definitely be making a video on soon. If you liked the video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe, notification bell, etc. and so forth. Thank you so much, bye bye.